In the hidden village of
Mfon, the
Eki,
special
where the
child,
river
you're born
listens
to
and the
save
forest
humanity in
remembers,
Eki
a girl
community.
is born carrying a destiny too heavy for an ordinary life. Gifted, desired, and warned by the gods, Mfon walks a fragile path between obedience and ruin. When she falls, the land rejects her. When she rises, the river claims her. This is a Calabar folktale of power, punishment, and the terrible price of becoming chosen. In this story, you'll notice the price Mfon paid for disobeying the warnings their village chief priest gave her despite telling her the implications of her actions. Why did Mfon defiled her virginity despite the warning from the chief priest? What was the fate of Asuquo, the young man who defiled her in the name of marriage? What was the content of the mysterious box handed over to Mfon, and what was the purpose of giving her that box and the red pant? What does the red pant signify? Find out all of this as you watch this interesting story. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe to this channel. Let us know you feel in the comments section. Here we go. My children, listen well. Before a person is born, before the first cry splits the air, the earth already knows whether that child will walk gently or shake the ground. In Eki village, the earth knew. Eki was not a village you entered anyhow. It sat between forest and river like a place that had chosen silence over noise. Tall mangrove trees formed a living fence around it, their roots clawing the soil as if holding secrets down. Even at midday, parts of Eki remained dim, shadows resting where the sun refused to stay too long. The elders said it was because spirits liked their privacy. The Eki River flowed at the edge of the village, wide and slow, its surface always calm, its depths never discussed. Children were warned never to call the river by name after sunset. Fishermen poured libation before casting their nets. Women whispered their prayers to it instead of shouting. The river heard everything, they said. The river remembered. It was into this land that Mfon announced herself long before her mother's womb began to show. Akon, Mfon's mother, was a quiet woman with tired eyes and strong hands. She had carried other pregnancies before, but this one arrived differently. From the first month, her sleep changed. She stopped dreaming of people and places. Instead, water followed her. In her sleep, she stood at the riverbank, barefoot, watching the water rise without waves. From the middle of the river, a woman would emerge slowly, waist deep, hair long and heavy like wet weeds. Her skin shone faintly, neither young nor old. She never spoke. She only looked at Akon with eyes that felt ancient, eyes that searched. Each time Akon woke from the dream, her wrapper would be damp. Not soaked like rain. Damp like mist. Her heart would pound, and her chest would feel tight, as though she had been holding her breath underwater. The dream came again. And again. By the fourth night, Akon refused to sleep. She sat until dawn, whispering prayers, rubbing her stomach, begging whatever was watching her to leave her alone. But when morning came, the dream followed her into daylight. She felt watched even while cooking, even while walking, even while laughing with other women. That was when the elders were called. Edom Nsa, the chief priest of Eki, arrived before sunset. He was not tall, but his presence bent the air. His hair was gray and tightly coiled. His eyes were sharp, alert, like someone who listened more than he spoke. When he walked, the ground seemed to accept his feet carefully. He asked Akon to sit on a mat in front of her compound. He spread white chalk on the earth, poured palm wine, broke cola nut, and called on names that were not meant for careless ears. Then he threw the cowries. They scattered, clattered, and fell face up. Edom Nsa inhaled sharply. He did not speak immediately. He threw them again. This time, his hands trembled. What is it? Asuquo asked, fear creeping into his voice. Edom Nsa stood slowly. There is a child coming, he said. But not an ordinary child. He explained that the child carried dual paths. Blessing and suffering. Healing and destruction. Glory and rejection. Her life would never be simple. The gods had placed their mark on her before her bones were formed. She will be admired, he said. But admiration will attract danger. She will lift others, but she will be broken first. Other diviners were summoned from nearby villages. Some confirmed the reading. Some warned that children like this rarely lived quietly. One old woman, bent with age, spat on the ground and shook her head. "This child belongs to the water," she said. "You may raise her, but you cannot fully keep her." When Mfon was born, the rain stopped. That alone was strange. The sky had been heavy all day, clouds pressing low like swollen bellies. But the moment the child slid into the world, the rain paused, as if listening. The baby did not cry immediately. She opened her eyes. Wide. Clear. Watching. Those present exchanged glances. Then, suddenly, she cried once. Loud. Sharp. The sound cut through the compound, through the trees, through the quiet places. A gust of wind passed through the mangroves. As Mfon grew, signs followed her gently, like warnings whispered instead of shouted. When she crawled near goats, they moved aside instead of pushing her away. Birds lingered around her compound longer than usual. When she laughed, people felt lighter without knowing why. When she cried, even grown men felt uneasy. By the time she was 7, the village already spoke her name carefully. It was on a lonely road to the market that Edom Nsa saw her properly. The road was quiet, dust rising under Akon's feet as she walked. Mfon skipped beside her, humming to herself. The chief priest had been returning from a shrine when he saw them. He stopped. His breath caught. Something in his chest twisted violently. He screamed. Not a shout. A scream. Mfon. The sound echoed unnaturally. Akon froze. Edom Nsa ran toward them, pointing, shaking like someone possessed. "You are a special child," he said, voice trembling. "You carry power. You are tied to the river. Do not play with yourself like others. Guard your body. Guard your purity. If you break this law wrongly, suffering will follow you like a shadow." Akon clutched her daughter, fear seeping into her bones. Mfon did not understand everything. But she remembered the terror in the priest's eyes. And the river, far away, flowed on in silence. "My children, there is a time when a child stops belonging only to her parents and begins to belong to the land." That was the season Mfon entered. She grew the way rare things grow. Not loudly. Not hurriedly. But with a quiet certainty that unsettled those who watched closely. By the time she reached womanhood, Eki village no longer spoke of her as a child. They spoke of her as something else. Something waiting. Her beauty did not shout. It did not beg for attention. It drew it. Her skin carried a soft glow that made elders look twice and young men lower their eyes. Her hair grew thick and dark, falling down her back like a river at rest. When she smiled, it felt as though something gentle had passed through the air. Yet beauty was only the smallest part of what marked her. The dreams came without warning. The first dream arrived like a whisper. She saw a cooking hut engulfed in fire, flames licking dry palm fronds, women screaming without sound. She woke with her heart pounding and the smell of smoke clinging to her nose. That same afternoon, a careless spark set a hut ablaze near the eastern edge of the village. People murmured. The second dream came heavier. She saw a fisherman struggling in dark water, arms flailing, mouth open, no sound escaping. She woke crying. Days later, the fisherman's canoe overturned in the river. His body surfaced 2 mornings after. Fear entered the village quietly. The elders began to watch Mfon more closely. Children were told not to disturb her. Women lowered their voices when she passed. Men debated in whispers. Then came the dream that changed everything. One night, the air felt wrong. The crickets fell silent. Mfon slept restlessly, turning on her mat. In her dream, the Eki River rose. Not violently. Calmly. Its water darkened, thick like oil. Faces appeared beneath the surface. Familiar faces. Neighbors. Elders. Children. Mouths opened in silent cries. A shadow moved beneath the water. Something vast. She woke with a sharp pain in her chest, gasping as though she had been underwater herself. Her mat was soaked with sweat. Her body shook uncontrollably. She did not wait for morning. She ran to her father, Asuquo, waking him with frantic knocks. "Papa," she said, breathless. "I saw something terrible." Asuquo listened, his face hardening with each word. He was a practical man, raised to respect the gods but not to chase their attention. Yet he could not ignore the fear in his daughter's eyes. Before the sun fully rose, he took her to Edom Nsa. The chief priest listened in silence, eyes half closed. When she finished, he nodded slowly, as though confirming something long expected. "The door has opened," he said. "The gods are using her mouth now." He poured libation and prayed for clarity, for guidance, for restraint. He reminded Mfon of the warning he had given her years ago. Her gift was not free. It demanded discipline. Obedience. Patience. From that day, people came. At first, they came secretly. At night. Through back paths. Women troubled by dreams of death. Men shaken by visions of loss. Mfon listened. She spoke carefully. Sometimes she told them what they wanted to hear. Sometimes she told them what they feared. And often, what she said happened. Her name spread beyond Eki. With power came isolation. She stopped attending certain gatherings. Friends drifted away, unsure whether to fear or envy her. Men admired her from a distance. Women studied her carefully, measuring their own lives against hers. When she turned 22, suitors began to arrive openly. They brought gifts. Palm wine. Goats. Promises. Mfon refused them all. "The gods have not spoken," she said calmly. Some men left respectfully. Others scoffed. A few cursed her pride. Then Bassi arrived. He was from a nearby village, tall and confident, his smile easy, his voice smooth like flowing water. He did not come to marry her. He came seeking solutions to his misfortunes. Crops had failed him. Luck had turned its back. Mfon listened. But something in her shifted. Desire is quiet. It does not announce itself with drums. She saw him again. And again. She told herself she was strong. But strength, my children, is not the absence of weakness. It is the ability to recognize it in time. One night, she did not. And the river, patient and ancient, watched without blinking. My children, there are laws older than villages. When they are broken, the punishment does not rush. It waits. It watches. Then it strikes where it hurts most. The night Mfon crossed the line the gods had drawn, the earth did not shake. The river did not roar. No thunder split the sky. That was what made it dangerous. Everything looked normal. Bassi left before dawn, smiling, confident, satisfied. Mfon sat alone, staring at the mat beneath her, her body warm, her spirit cold. She told herself nothing had happened. She told herself she was still herself. But the river had felt it. The change did not come at once. The first sign was silence. Her dreams stopped. For the first time since childhood, she slept without visions. No warnings. No voices. No symbols. At first, she felt relieved. Then she felt empty. It was like waking up blind after years of seeing too much. Days passed. Then her reflection began to betray her. She noticed it one morning while fetching water. Her skin looked dull, like clay left too long in the sun. The glow people once spoke of was gone. She rubbed her arms hard, thinking dust was the cause, but the dullness stayed. Her neck began to stretch unnaturally. Not overnight. Slowly. Painfully. People noticed before she did. Children stared. Women whispered. Men looked away. Her body grew thinner each week, flesh melting away as though something unseen was feeding on her. Her clothes hung loosely. Her bones pressed against skin. Hunger followed her constantly, but no amount of food satisfied her. Then the flies came. At first, a few hovered around her head. She waved them away, annoyed. By the next week, they followed her everywhere. Thick, black flies that buzzed endlessly, settling on her arms, her shoulders, her hair. Even smoke could not chase them off. People began to step back when she passed. Children mocked her openly. "River woman," they whispered. "Look at her neck." Women crossed the road to avoid her. Some spat behind her. Others shook their heads in pity mixed with fear. Her father, Asuquo, broke inside. He took her to herbalists. To diviners. To men who claimed knowledge of ancient cures. They bathed her with leaves. Cut marks into her skin. Chanted over her body. Nothing worked. Some refused to touch her. "This one's problem is deeper than herbs," one said. Meanwhile, Bassi's fortune rose like a sudden flood. Money came to him from nowhere. His farms flourished. His name was praised. He walked proudly, telling anyone who would listen how luck had finally favored him. Then, just as suddenly, everything collapsed. His wealth vanished. His farms failed. His sleep deserted him. Nightmares tormented him. He began seeing shadows in daylight. Hearing voices where none spoke. He ran. Left his village. Left his name. Left his sanity behind. Mfon watched all this from the edge of society. For 3 years, she lived like a ghost among the living. Her beauty was gone. Her gift was silent. Her dignity was stripped bare. Even the river seemed distant, its surface cold, its presence heavy. Only Edom Nsa spoke to her without fear. "You are paying the price," the chief priest said calmly. "This suffering is not the end. It is the path back. Endure. Endure." That word became her life. She endured hunger. Mockery. Loneliness. The weight of shame. Nights when she begged the gods to take her life instead. And still, the river waited. Patient. "My children, there comes a moment when suffering ripens. When pain has done all it can do, the spirits decide whether to finish you or remake you." That moment met Mfon at the river. By the 4th year of her disgrace, Mfon no longer moved like someone who expected kindness from the world. Her steps were slow. Careful. As though the earth itself might reject her if she was careless. The flies still followed her. The whispers still chased her. Her name had become a warning mothers used to scare stubborn daughters. "Do you want to end up like Mfon?" they would say. On that day, the sky was dull and heavy, neither bright nor threatening. The air felt thick, as if it had swallowed something it could not digest. Mfon wrapped herself in a faded cloth and walked toward the Eki River alone. No one stopped her. People had grown used to her wandering. Some said she went there to cry. Others said she went there to beg the spirits that had already rejected her. A few whispered that one day she would walk into the river and never return. The riverbank greeted her with silence. The water lay flat and dark, reflecting nothing clearly. Even the birds avoided the place. Mfon knelt at the edge, her knees sinking into damp earth, and began to weep. Not softly. She cried like someone emptying years of pain into the soil. Her tears fell into the river, disappearing without trace. She poured palm oil. She placed cola nut. She whispered apologies until her voice cracked. If I have offended you, she said, finish me or forgive me. Do not leave me hanging between life and death. The river did not answer. After a long while, exhausted, she stood and turned back toward the village path. That was when she heard it. Mfon. The voice was thin. Old. Female. Her body stiffened. She looked around. No one. The trees stood still. The water did not ripple. Mfon, the voice called again, closer this time. Her heart began to pound violently. Fear rose like bile in her throat. She wanted to run, but her legs refused to obey. Who is there? She whispered. There was a soft rustling behind her. She turned. An old woman stood there. She had not been there a moment before. That much Mfon was certain of. The woman's back was bent, her skin dark and wrinkled like dried river clay. Her eyes were sharp and bright, far too alive for such an aged body. She leaned on a walking stick that looked older than the forest itself. How long will you kneel for those who have already chosen you? The woman asked. Mfon fell backward, scrambling in the dirt. Please, she cried. I have nothing left. The woman smiled, but there was no warmth in it. You have everything left, she said. You just forgot who you are. The old woman sat on a fallen log without effort, as if gravity did not concern her. Your suffering was not punishment alone, she continued. It was cleansing. The gods do not dress a vessel without washing it first. Mfon trembled. Why was I allowed to fall? She asked. Why was I abandoned? The woman's eyes darkened. Because obedience given without testing is useless. You broke a law. You tasted consequence. Now you understand power. She reached into the folds of her wrapper and brought out a small wooden box. It was carved with strange symbols that seemed to shift when stared at too long. This contains what you need to serve the Eki River, she said. Not to beg it. To stand for it. Then she produced something else. A red undergarment. Bright. Unashamed. Unmissable. This is your covenant, the woman said, her voice hardening. You will wear this for the rest of your life. No man will lie with you again. The river will be your husband. Your satisfaction will come from power, not flesh. Mfon shook her head, sobbing. Please, she said. I am tired. The woman leaned forward suddenly, her face inches away. Her eyes were no longer human. Disobey me, she whispered, and what you have suffered will look like mercy. Silence swallowed the air. Mfon nodded. I will obey. The old woman stood. Good, she said. Because today, the mockers lose their mouths. She turned and walked toward the river. Halfway, she vanished. Not faded. Vanished. The river stirred for the first time that day. And Mfon, clutching the box and the red cloth, felt something awaken deep inside her bones. My children, when a person obeys the gods fully, the earth itself must rearrange. That was what happened in Eki. Mfon did not return to the village immediately after meeting the old woman. She remained by the river until night fell. She sat alone, the wooden box resting on her lap, the red cloth folded carefully beside her. The air around her felt different now. Heavy, but not hostile. The flies that had tormented her for years hovered briefly, then vanished one by one, as though dismissed by an unseen hand. For the first time in years, silence did not frighten her. When she opened the box, her fingers trembled. Inside were objects no ordinary woman should touch lightly. White chalk smooth as bone. Dried leaves tied with red thread. Cowries darkened by age. A small clay figure shaped like a woman rising from water. And a sharp, flat stone etched with symbols that made her head ache if she stared too long. The river stirred. Not violently. Not angrily. It moved the way something ancient shifts when it recognizes its own. Mfon removed her old undergarment and wrapped it in leaves, as instructed. Then she wore the red cloth. The moment it touched her skin, heat rushed through her body, not painful, but consuming. Her knees buckled. Her breath caught in her throat. Images flooded her mind. The river before Eki existed. The first sacrifice ever made. Women before her, chosen and broken, powerful and alone. She saw herself standing among them, not as a child, not as a victim, but as a continuation. She screamed. The sound echoed across the water. When she stood again, she was no longer the woman who had knelt there hours earlier. Her back straightened. Her eyes sharpened. Her skin began to glow again, but this time it was not soft beauty. It was something harder. Something commanding. She walked back into the village at dawn. People noticed immediately. Women froze mid-conversation. Men stopped walking. Children fell silent. Mfon's body had changed. Her neck returned to its natural form. Her flesh filled out, strong and healthy. Her skin shone like polished wood after rain. Her eyes held depth that made people lower their gaze without knowing why. Someone whispered, "She is back." But that was not the truth. She had not come back. She had arrived. Edom Nsa saw her from his shrine and dropped the cup in his hand. "It is done," he murmured. The cleansing began that same day. Mfon stood in the village square, wearing white chalk on her arms, red thread around her waist, cowries at her ankles. She spoke words that were not taught to her by any living person. The ground trembled slightly beneath her feet. The wind moved in circles. Those who had mocked her felt sudden sickness grip them. Not death. Fear. People with long-standing illnesses collapsed, then rose healed. Women who had not conceived wept as life stirred within them again. Nightmares stopped visiting the village. The river overflowed gently, washing away rot, not homes. Eki rejoiced. They brought gifts. Food. Animals. Praise. They bowed. But Mfon did not smile the way she used to. She moved to the riverbank permanently. No man approached her again. Those who tried felt sudden weakness, confusion, or fear. Desire died before it could speak. The red cloth remained her covenant. The river satisfied what flesh never would. Power filled the spaces longing once occupied. She became known as the goddess of Eki River. Travelers came from far places. Kings sent messengers. Problems that had defied generations dissolved under her gaze. Yet she lived alone. Power has a cost. Sometimes, at night, villagers heard singing from the river. Sometimes, they saw a figure standing in water, hair flowing, neither young nor old. Mothers warned their daughters. Fathers told their sons to respect laws older than desire. And when elders told Mfon's story, they always ended the same way. Not with her fall, but with her obedience. Because in Eki, everyone learned one truth that never faded. The gods forgive. But they never forget. I hope you enjoyed this interesting story. Please, do well to tell us how you feel in the comments section and don't forget to like, share and subscribe to this channel. Thank you so much for watching.